this problem in our world, and you've probably seen it. We call it a moving target. And it's the idea of lots of different behaviors are used to regulate emotions. I worked with one young lady who had been in every form of treatment you could imagine. And it was like, well, she's got to get her substance use behaviors under control, and then she can go to a different form of therapy. Well, and then she had to get her eating disorder behaviors under control. And then she was going to be able to go to a more standardized form of therapy. And then she had to get her self-harm behaviors under. Do you see that it's, for us, it's emotional dysregulation. If a behavior, we conceptualize pretty much all behaviors as ways to regulate emotion. So now, that's for our folks. That's not for everybody. Our folks use things to regulate emotion with. So often they go from place to place to place to place to place, from different treatment to different treatment, not necessarily from cognitive behavioral to psychodynamic, but from eating disorder treatment to substance use treatment to trauma treatment and because it's all at its heart is emotional dysregulation. And our treatment is meant to cover all of that. But it can be really hard on our path because it's like, what target are we doing today? Because the behaviors are sometimes very different, but they often have the same steps along the way to the behavior, and that's how we can tell they're about regulating emotions. So there are, between standard DBT and DBT SUD, we've got a couple of different things. So substance abuse targets are conceptualized as ways to regulate emotion. This fits in with the self-medication hypothesis in addictions world, right? And that's not why everybody uses substances. It's not. It's what our folks generally do, okay? Now, we also have this extra set of targets called the path to clear mind. I left out I'll do that. Our top level goal in that is to decrease substance abuse, and then we've got a whole bunch of other things we're looking at. We want to decrease physical discomfort, okay? Either physical discomfort that led to substance abuse or the physical discomfort of not using. Okay, and we want to decrease urges, cravings, and temptations. We'll get to that. Options, contacts, and cues for use. Decrease capitulation, the "oh, I give up" syndrome, or the "just this once" syndrome. And we're going to increase community reinforcement. And we're going to do that through skills and through some other stuff, and I'll get to that. So there's a difference between borderline personality disorder paired with substance abuse disorder and suicidal BPD, okay? And there's some differences in how we deliver DBT for folks who have a primary substance use disorder along with it, or an addiction, I should say. Again, remember I told you I'm an alien, I don't speak the language so well. But we have various problems that we want to address. So with our substance use or with our addiction clients, there's a high avoidance of cues associated with negative affect, and the regulation comes via substances or behaviors that have to do with addiction. Okay, our folks who are BPD without substance use, they regulate through interpersonal interactions. Either I'm going to talk to you and you're going to get it and I'm going to feel better. I'm going to talk to you, you're going to approve of me, you're going to validate me, and I'm going to feel better. Or I could kaboom on you, okay? And that provides me with some relief too, okay? I'm going to have some sort of emotional interaction with someone that's going to help me regulate. I might get some reassurance. That's a big one. That helps me feel better, is getting some reassurance. Our substance use folks don't tend to do that. They go straight to the substance or the addictive behavior. So that's considered the addiction problem in DBT SUD. We also have the getting a normal life problem, which is our addiction folks tend to have far fewer social supports. They tend to isolate a lot more than our more traditional BPD person. And then we've got the butterfly problem. This is the falling out of contact with the therapist, the just not buying in quite as much. The payoff of the interpersonal interaction is not as big for these folks because they're not using interpersonal interactions to regulate as much. So how do we combat that? We do all kinds of things. We increase contact. We reach out. Our suicidal and BPD folks, we don't have to keep reaching out to them. They reach out to us. We don't need to do that. The relationship with the therapist is incredibly important to that crowd. To the addictions crowd, it's more, no, I can go isolate, I can take care of this on my own. So we will pursue people when they get lost in treatment. We will we'll make sure that we increase contact. We build the client's connection a lot more to other members of the treatment milieu and the treatment team. And when the therapist gets demoralized, because what do we live on? We live on the connection too. That's why did we come to this field? Because we like to connect with people, right? So therapists get demoralized more easily with this population. That's when the team comes in and provides DBT skills to the therapist and helps out. I'll connect with that client more. You know what? You're burnt out. You've been all over the place. I'm going to take care of that. I'm going to call. I'm going to make that extra connection. So we got these added skills, okay? And we're really famous for acronyms in DBT world. Everything has an acronym. For this one, we're backing down from addiction. DCBA. Backing down. So we're going to be talking about all of these skills: dialectical abstinence, clear mind. I won't read them off because we're going to talk about them now. And our first one is this idea of dialectical abstinence. And this is really kind of a tough concept for everybody to get. It's a skill that synthesizes two major treatment philosophies for addictions. On one side, abstinence, complete and utter abstinence. And on the other side, harm reduction, relapse prevention. Okay, and so the idea is that you are holding abstinence in your head. I am going to abstain. But way back, at the back of your mind, you have a plan for if a slip occurs, what you're going to do, and you've written it out, and you've got it, and you're kind of like a quarterback, where you're always you're always running towards I'm not a sporty person. It's that thing that looks like this. You're always going for a touchdown, right? And you're where you may fall, right? But you're not accepting that I'm gonna fall and that's just the way it is. But you're saying it could happen and I've got a plan. The idea is that we're looking always to keep a slip from turning into a slide, keeping a lapse from turning into a full relapse. So if I mess up and I start drinking that glass of wine, right? I've got my plan. It's not, and I'm moving back towards abstinence the whole time. It's like, I'm gonna stop here. It's not like, hey, I screwed up. Okay, might as well drink tonight. It's like, no, I did it. I got off my plan. I'm getting back now. And we're trying to combat that abstinence violation effect. You know, that idea that happens for folks where I fell off the wagon, I feel guilty, I feel ashamed, I'm a loser, I'm never gonna make this happen, and then I spiral down. It's the idea that I've got a plan, this could happen, I accidentally started using, and I'm gonna pull back faster. So the beauty of abstinence is that people who commit to abstinence stay off of substances longer, or off of their addictive behavior longer. but they fall off the wagon, it takes them a lot longer to get back on. Harm reduction is there are going to be slips. We minimize damage. The pros are is that after slipping, people get back on the wagon more quickly, but they relapse quicker. So the idea is trying to get folks to hold these two ideas in the mind at the same time so they get the benefits of both. The tough part is that it's always work. You're either abstinent or you're working towards abstinence. So that's one of our main skills. And we got this concept. In standard DBT, there's the concept of emotion mind, reason mind, and they are synthesized, which means that we don't put emotion mind and reasonable mind in a blender and mix them together, but there's something extra that happens from the synthesis, and the synthesis of emotion mind and reason mind is called wise mind. And our substance use adaptation is addict mind and clean mind synthesized into clear mind. So addict mind is, it's the mind that's ruled by the addiction. It is, it's the urges to use determine all behavior, right? Clean mind is, I stopped and I don't have that problem anymore. You don't have to worry, Tiffany. I'm not gonna use again. Everybody sat in a room with that happening? Yeah, not gonna happen. I'm okay. I learned my lesson, okay? And what goes along with clean mind is it's naive, risk-taking, and it results in a lot of what we call, and you guys probably use this term too, is apparently irrelevant behaviors. So I'm going to visit my friend in the country, and I overestimate my time, and I get there several hours early. So there's a mall, and I'm going to go to the mall. And I do some shopping, and then I'm hungry, I'm gonna go to lunch, and there's a hotel, and it has a nice restaurant. I'm gonna go have something to eat at the restaurant. And then I'm still a little bit early, and there happens to be a casino. Gambling is my problem. I mean, not my problem, but the problem in this situation. That was my dad's problem. So I'm just gonna look into the casino for a second. A series of apparently irrelevant behaviors that result in me gambling and never getting to my friend's country house, right? Or, you know what, I so want a hamburger, and my corner bar has yummy hamburgers. Oops, right? Or my friend loves ice cream, we're having a birthday party, let me make sure I get plenty of ice cream. Oh, wait, after the party there's lots of ice cream sitting in my freezer. Okay, these are apparently irrelevant behaviors, but they end up resulting in problematic things. So we're synthesizing these. Again, we're holding clean mind in check, addict mind in check, and knowing that both extremes are a problem, we're looking for that synthesis of clear mind, which is our safe place. Remember what addict mind is like? And I'm very realistic that relapse is not impossible, and I'm on alert for possible temptations. And I've got a plan for dealing with those temptations if they occur, and if there's a slip, I've got a plan for that too. So we also have community reinforcement, and that's, okay, so one of the things that, if we look at behaviors and what keeps addiction in place, right? It's the immediate either pleasure or relief from urges to use, right? Urges and cravings are really awful, right? So maybe you don't get so much pleasure from using your substance or your addictive behavior anymore, but at least those cravings stop, right? So we know that that immediate reinforcement is what keeps a behavior in place. It's a big part of it. So what we have to do is help folks find ways to keep abstinence being reinforced in that sort of immediate way, right? You gotta have the good feels after not using. So you've gotta create a life worth living that includes abstinence. So we're gonna replace those addiction reinforcers with abstinence reinforcers. And as you know, when somebody's in an addictive lifestyle, their lifestyle very much narrows. and they forget about all these other really fun things that happen in the world, right? Sometimes we have to get them to sample and learn what they like after a while. We get to get them to meet new people, to find new things that give them a bit of a lift, that reinforcement. So we want them, and then the last part of this community reinforcement is if people feel that they're not ready to stop using, we have them do abstinence sampling, which is you commit to a certain number of days and you're just very mindfully noticing and recognizing what positive things come from that. Oh my gosh, was it amazing not to wake up feeling like crap? That was incredible. Do you know that I'm not as depressed when I'm not using? That's kind of crazy. And just noticing that. Okay, burning bridges and building new ones. So here's what we want to think about. Think of, you're in front of your house and there's a very angry elephant charging you, okay? And what do? You scoot your ass into the garage and you close the door, right? Problem is that if you leave that door open just a little bit, elephant is wily, they got like this little trunk. Lift up that door. Or if you don't leave it open, you're standing in your garage wondering what the elephant's doing, so you want to take a peek, right? What's the elephant doing? The elephant is the attention. Okay, and so if you open the garage for a second, the elephant gets in. If you leave it open a bit, the elephant gets in, right? So we want to help people burn all the bridges they can to their addiction so the garage door is not open, even just a slit, because even a tiny slit can let a whole lot of elephant in, right? So we gotta burn bridges. We've got to do the cleanse, right? All the phone numbers get blocked, all the items get removed, all of the t-shirt, even though you love it, but it's got the weed symbol on it, all of that gets removed from the environment just because those are the little openings that let it back in. The other thing is, so we're getting rid of all cues and temptations, and we are going to tell on ourselves. We are going to be really honest and truthful. The 12 step, what is it? Life of rigorous honesty is the 12-step version of this. The idea is that I'm going to tell on myself. And I have a young woman that I'm seeing who found a really, really great hair salon in Burbank. And not only are they not very expensive, they'll also do your hair and give you a manicure and a pedicure at the same time. And they'll give you a glass of champagne. So you know what? If they're cheap, you get a manicure and pedicure at the same time as you're getting your hair done, you don't want to let that out of your life, right? But the champagne comes and they don't even ask you first. So she had to go in and announce to the salon, don't give me champagne. So she didn't lose her salon, right? We get this, right? I also asked her for the name of it because I need to know. So you're going to tell on yourself. You're going to tell your family and friends that you quit. You're going to tell your therapist. You're going to tell everybody. And then the building new bridges is really interesting. It's the idea of that visual and olfactory information is very strong with cravings, right? When a craving comes, I mean, think about, my grandma made amazing enchiladas, right? The smell that I can immediately smell those, right? If you've got a relationship with a substance, a huge part of the craving portion is recognition, is smelling the smells and seeing the sights, right? So what we want folks to do is build new bridges, which is create a whole library of new olfactory and visual things to have in place. So when those cravings come up, I'm going to use my mindfulness skill, because mindfulness is the core skill of DBT, to pull my attention to these other olfactory and visual sensations that I've put into place. Also, if the visualizations are strong, I'm going to get myself looking at moving images if I'm having cravings, because it helps kind of break that visual imagery, that internal visual imagery. And I'm going to have strong smells available. I'm going to be the queen of aromatherapy, right? I'm going to be able to imagine the beach very, very well. I'm going to have strong smells to combat that smell of my substance of choice. Okay. Yes?
What are some of the positive imageries that are used to kind of counteract the craving?
It really depends on the person, because maybe for one person, images of the beach are very associated with their use. But they might imagine the beach. There are lots and lots of sensations with visual and sensory that go along with the beach. But it really depends on the person. If for some people, maybe I'll combat that with the smell of chocolate, but I have an eating disorder too. Can't use that. So it's a very individualized thing. But the stronger the smell and the more the images move, the better. Where am I going now? Okay. Oh, this is my favorite skill. Alternate rebellion. Lots and lots of addictive behaviors are about rebellion, right? You gotta rebel, right? If that's part of your nature, if addictive behaviors are a way to rebel against authority, conventions, and the boredom of not breaking rules or laws, you gotta find a different way to rebel. I'm doing it right now. My earrings? My earrings are harmonica. My purse? Grown up Kate Spade bag. Oh, wait. Nobody's going to notice, right? But I get a little secret thrill. I have some earrings that say in one ear and out the other. Okay. I'm going to do it again right now. Happy underpants! Woo! Favorite skill. Pretty rebellious person. Okay, so there are lots of ideas for alternate rebellion. You don't have this is in the Kate Spade outlet. I promise. It's you can shave your head. You can wear unmatched shoes. Some of you know Monica, our clinical outreach person. I want you to take a look at her feet the next time you see her. You will notice that her socks never match. That's her alternate rebellion. She's a pretty rebellious person too. You can have secret thoughts. Let's all have a secret thought right now. You can express unpopular views, so on and so forth. You can dress up when you're supposed to dress a certain way for an event. You can dress down, right? It's just a way of sticking it to the man a little bit, right? So there's lots of ideas. Put it in your search engine. You will see lists and lists and lists and lists of ideas for alternate rebellion. This is our last one, and this one's the one that you're going to go, what? I mean, if you haven't already gone, what? But it's adaptive denial. And basically, you're using denial for good instead of evil, which is that if you get an urge to engage in the addictive behavior, you're going to tell yourself that you want something else. And you're just going to live in la-la land. No, you know what? That urge for a glass of wine, I want a cookie. That's what I really want. You're just going to use denial for your own good. You're going to give logic a break on this one. The thing in DBT is it's always kind of what skill to use is it depends. We want to break through denial all the time, but sometimes we can use it to help ourselves, right? So there's always this idea of almost everything's a good idea at the right time. Instead of killing yourself or self-harm, or use them if you're an addict, right? And then our last one is kind of a version of urge surfing, which is I can do it in 5 minutes. I can do it in 5 minutes. Anybody watch The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt? The wheel that she turns to provide electricity, you can do anything for 1 minute, right? That's adaptive denial. She gets through years and years and years of being incarcerated by a crazy person, right? By just getting through the next minute. So that is pretty much, I'm gonna open up to questions. My son always wants to come to these events. I do not bring him, but this is his version of coming. Because if I brought him, he would be sitting in that chair right now saying, "Mommy, you're so boring. Why do you talk so much?" So, questions? Yes?
Research on DBT, I found that there can be some issues getting insurance coverage for all of the components. Given that I think you need at least 2 clinicians to lead the skills groups, the phone calls, and then all of the consultations between the clinicians. What has your experience been with this? Do you see any light at the end of the tunnel? Do you see any issues?
Yes, I actually do. I couldn't get a single case agreement to save my life 3 years ago. I was just calling, and problem number 1 is we have 38 DBT therapists who are within 5 miles of you who are in network. Well, we did the whole thing where we called all of them, and some of them were like, oh, they took a 1-day training from me. It's like, we had to educate the insurance companies about what comprehensive DBT is. And also we had clients going back and saying, I've called everyone, and they've either said they don't provide comprehensive, or they don't even know what it is, or they only have read about it a little bit, or, we were able to get back to, but we also see just an increase in knowledge on the insurance companies. I'm not having the same difficulty getting single case agreements that I used to. Are the reimbursement rates as much as I would like them to be? No, but I have hopes, because there's lots and lots of research that indicates that DBT is way more cost effective than treatment as usual for our population, because they land in the hospital, they land in residential treatment, they're high utilizers of higher levels of care. And study after study has indicated that no, it's way cheaper to give DBT up front. So we're getting a lot more approvals. Still, there are certain insurance companies that are just no, thank you, we have no interest. The client can get some other form of treatment. But I feel that it's looking up. I'm getting hopeful. All right. Well, I promise you there's no alcohol in that umbrella drinks and no DCFS on me. That's not how I want to spend my weekend. And just thank you all for coming. You never shut me up about it.